Shake your bottle if you're 45 minutes late.
Pretty
Your alarm
much.
didn't wake you up.
My phone died last night because I got to my hotel and forgot my charger in my car. Typical mistake. And I was like, oh, it'll make it through the night. And
Cat 5 mistake, bro.
woke up in the morning. So yeah, we're about 45 minutes late to my race.
We're in a rush now, no worries.
It's okay though.
We're gonna make it on time. We're not gonna be late.
Santa Cruz Classic. What else would we want? We're both exhausted, but hey, still gonna have fun.
Hey, what is up? Welcome back to the channel. EJ, my man, welcome back.
Dude, so freaking good to be here, out here at Santa Cruz. Beautiful sunny day, coming off Cat's Hill the day before. Boy, what a fun race.
Yeah, go check out that video if you missed it. EJ, how do you feel about hills and crits?
Dude, I absolutely hate them.
Well, there's more today because this is the Santa Cruz Classic Criterium and deceptively hard. And it's not just about the hill. It's about that hairpin that we just went through. There you are at 900 watts, 30 seconds into this race. And it's also this awkward corner coming to the bottom of the hill. This is what makes it deceptively hard. People talk about the hairpin. Yeah, the hairpin is tricky to navigate. But it's this weird off-camber right-hander coming into the bottom of the hill. We're going to get to in about 40 seconds or so. Talk more about it when we get there. But the problem with the corner is it scrubs all of your speed. Did you experience that, EJ? Like, the hill itself isn't that hard, but you're coming into the bottom of it like really slow because of this weird off-camber corner, whereas like under normal circumstances in a crit, you can come into the bottom of it with all this momentum and it's not that big of a deal. But it's like, oh, you feel the full force of this hill, right?
Oh, dude, yeah. It was like, okay, I'm not going to say it was harder than Cat's Hill, like the hill at Cat's Hill, but it was way... like you just couldn't carry as much momentum, meaning you just had to like pound on the power when you get out. It's this corner right here, right? You come out of it, it's off camber, and then you're like
16 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour, even left 14 for a second coming into the bottom of that hill, which means you, like on paper, you look at the hill, you're like, oh, it's, I don't know what it is. It's like 7% for 2 blocks or something like that. Not that big of a deal. I can coast up half of it before I have to really start jamming the watts. But no, as you can see by EJ's power in the bottom left, like you are smashing all the way up that hill. And for that reason, I wanted to have a discussion about these two crits, because I think at Cat's Hill, EJ didn't have his best performance. And that's not a result of his power. And that's what I want to talk about really quickly about a race like Cat's Hill or this race. It's EJ's a powerhouse, right? What is it, 360 watt FTP now, EJ? We've made that number clear on this channel, on the second channel. Insane your gains, raw power. But courses like this, it's so much more about your watt per kg, that relationship between your power and your weight. And it's not just because of the hill, but it's because of the cornering. Because let's not forget, you have to accelerate really hard out of this hairpin, out of that corner that we just talked about at the bottom of the hill. And every time you accelerate, your weight is very consequential on the effort it takes for you to get back up to speed. So if we just break down the numbers really quick, EJ, amazing gains, 4.5 watts per kg, but that's 350 watt FTP. The same rider who is 140 pounds or 63 kilograms, 63 and a half kilograms, you only need 280 watts to have that same watt per kg, meaning this is like a long-winded way for me to say this course really benefits the lighter rider. Did you feel that way out there, EJ?
Oh, definitely. And something to kind of tie that home. I mean, this was my highest average power for any race I've done so far, which I think is the title of the video, so you guys know that going in. But I mean, I averaged 300 watts for this whole race, which doesn't, I guess, to some of you might not seem like a lot, but 50 minutes at 300 was pretty painful, to say the least.
Well, what was your normalized though?
Like 357, I think.
Yeah. So that's an FTP effort. That's your threshold for almost an hour. That's a really hard effort. But like I said, you're penalized for your weight. On flat crits, you're gonna smash. It's gonna be a lot better. I knew this was a tough weekend coming into it, both Cats and this race, Santa Cruz. I warned you about this, EJ, and it's different strokes for different folks. Like, this race is really hard, and for that reason, I mean, I've done this race 10 times, maybe more. I want to point out one thing. I mean, of course, you have to corner really well. That kind of goes without saying in every crit. But in this course in particular, where you pass, there's really only one good place to pass on this course. Let's fast forward to that spot right now, and I want to talk about how you could win this course as a bigger rider, and more importantly, how to lose on this course as a bigger rider. Okay, just a few laps into this race, EJ is about to demonstrate the best way to pass on this course, and that is over the top of this hill. Everyone's tired from going smashing over the hill, and if you can just stay on the power a little bit over the top here, everyone slows down. This is even better, EJ, because you're following somebody. Yeah, it costs you some power here, but look, you just made up literally 40 wheels. And it wasn't 1,000 watts, right?
Dude, I think it does. Are you saying I did something right for once?
Yeah, dude, of course you did something right. Broken clock is right twice a day, right? What's the other one? Blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. And now that I've patted you on the back and said you did something right, let's actually find another instance where you did something wrong as a bigger rider. So as a bigger rider, you don't want to make passes on the hill. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And as we can see here, I get it, EJ, you have all this energy, and maybe you even see somebody riding away from you and you're must follow. But as a bigger rider, man, I mean, look at it. You're making over 1,000 watts on this climb. This is not the finish, guys. This is over 1,000 watts with 35 minutes of racing still to go. You really need to save those bullets. The difference between, and I realize you're going to have to do 600-700 watts to get up this hill without falling back.
Yeah.
But the difference, as many of you who are listening to this may know, between 600 and 1,100 is enormous. And you will pay the price for these really hard efforts, climbing up and over the hill, doing an enormous effort, maybe following wheels, when it's just choose your battles, wait for that spot we already talked about when you're cresting the hill, or the spot when you're coming down the hill. Let's actually fast forward to those spots when you're coming down the hill, because I think there's a good spot to pass over there too. And this is the spot where, as a bigger rider, it makes more sense, right? We hated gravity before, but now we like gravity because it's pulling us down this hill after the hairpin. A lot of riders start coasting. EJ, this is a good move right here. You're still doing 200 watts, 300 watts here for a second, and you're
400.
preserving, 500 watts
500.
now for a minute. But look, everyone's going to coast, and then after a small delay here, you're just going to continue on the inside, and you're going to preserve your speed. You could have rode your brakes there, and you didn't. You instead made up 3 wheels for the cost of just a little bit of energy when everyone else is kind of slowing up for that corner. I guess my point is you have to understand the course, you have to understand your strengths and weaknesses, and you also have to understand your physiology. If you're a bigger rider, don't let it come down to the climb. You know what I mean? That's the lighter riders want it to come down to the climb. And don't let them coax you into following them when they're going super hard on the climb. Chase them back on the downhill. The lighter riders hate the downhills and the flats and the wind, and that's where you can really get a huge edge, EJ, as a bigger, more powerful rider. Oh man, see, 1,100 watts out in the wind. And then as I was talking about that, you kind of showed us again the struggle here of going up that hill as a 170-pound rider. So those are the things you have to be thinking about in a crit, with features, especially fast 4-corner crit like they have in SoCal, like we have here up here in NorCal too, is ideal for you, EJ. We're gonna do. I know this was a discouraging weekend, but we're gonna be smashing flatter crits. There's plenty of those on the calendar. Races like these, you just have to really be careful when you're using your power. And with that said, so what do you think we just fast forward, EJ, to the final 3 or so laps of this race? Because you were still on the hunt. It was incredibly dynamic.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, EJ. I think actually it's 2.5 laps to go. But let's talk about these last few laps. So I think there's some really key moments. First one's coming up here in just a second. We're coming up this hill, coming into 2 laps to go, and boom goes the dynamite. How was this effort feeling, man?
Oh, dude, I was tired. As you can see by my heart rate.
Wait, you were tired? You're doing 1,000 watts, passing single file climby riders up that hill. What are you talking about? You were tired. I was doing bullshit on the tired.
I was doing everything you told me not to do. just cause, I guess.
For this
right?
moment.
Why not?
For this moment. No, I'm glad you're in good position. The question is, at what cost? 184 beats per minute. That was just such a committed pass.
Yeah.
If you take away the meters to go, I'm oh, this is the end of the race. But
yeah.
EJ's got tons of power. We've talked about that. Probably not the best place to use it, but hey, it's better to be in position and tired than not in position and fresh. So kudos to you for doing that. But now getting swarmed. No, like all that hard work you did going up that hill.
For nothing.
You have to fight so hard. There's a fight for this hairpin every lap, especially the last few laps. And EJ, I hate to say it, man, but you lost that fight. Like, you just weren't holding the wheel close enough. Positioning in bike racing is not super complicated. It's about keeping your handlebars in front of your competition. Because once somebody's handlebars are in front of yours, they can move you around. They can shift laterally, and you're kind of at their whim because your front wheel is the Achilles heel of your bike, right? It moves. The back wheel doesn't. So if you can get your handlebars in front of somebody's, you have the upper hand. And if you're not holding a wheel, EJ, close enough, like right here.
Yeah, I should be closer, right?
You got to be right up on Devin's wheel. This is the Mike's Bikes development rider in front of you. This is better. I like this right here. You got to be just a little bit away, fingers on the brake hoods, like ready to slow down in a moment's notice. And this is why consistency is so important in a lead out too. Kind of unrelated, but that's also why consistency is important in a lead out, because your sprinter can ride right behind you and not have to worry about overlapping and potentially crashing, while making sure that they are protecting their position within the peloton. Because as we go up this hill, dude, we're coming in a final lap. You're like fifth wheel. This is basically ideal position. I think, does Devin have a teammate up there doing some hard work on the front? Somebody's making it fast in single file. Look, you didn't even have to break 700 watts on this.
I'm here for this. Like,
dude,
this
is
was
amazing.
Yeah, I was feeling. I remember this. I was like, oh, dude. And the nice part was, which is like to double back on what you were saying, that last lap that we took, like once I hopped on Devin's wheel, or like that back half of the lap, honestly felt like the easiest part of that lap so far. But then
wait,
look what
EJ,
happened.
no. Again,
yeah.
This is basically like the last lap. Your position's great up the hill, but you got to hold that. See the gaps right here?
Yeah.
You have to hold the wheel so close, because there's not much you can do with the riders on the right swarming. It looks like you were just going to lose those positions, but you lost another 3 or 4 positions just because the riders came around you on the left and just on your right. And like all of a sudden, you went from perfect position to look, now you're gapped. You're gapped, and you're like off the back of that front group. You really need to be like 4th, 5th wheel right now, because this is like the last place you can pass. We talked about this moment, this part of the course already as a great place for you to pass. But man, on the last lap, it's going so fast. It's a tall order to make passes through here. And then once you make this right and you come up through this little chicane section, the road narrows. It's so hard to make a pass when that road narrows, and you're really just locked in now until the bottom of this hill. Trust me, I was in the same position in my race.
Yeah.
If you guys didn't catch my footage from this race, I also kind of blundered the last lap and left it too late. I ended up barely, I was like, I think 7th, barely making the top 10. And this is the reason why. Where do you pass? You're like stuck in here. There was a moment right there, though. I want to pause it just for a second. Can we go back and look at that? Things just open up on the right. And this is so uncharacteristic of the final lap, especially the final half of the final lap. Guys, we're approaching the final corner, the most consequential moment in this race, and there is the seas have parted for you, EJ. And there is this God line on the right here.
Yeah.
First of all, there's a gap in front of you, which is usually not the case. The last lap of a crit, so you have space to breathe. And also, it's the inside line. So what I want you to do here, and we'll play it now, is I want you to sprint to this apex before this rider on the right does it. And you could have made up inside line going faster if you would have started your sprint. I mean, you had the power there. You did 1,300 watts. You could have been on that rider in purple up there's wheel. We'll point him out. And instead of using that 1,200 watts to not even quite get on terms with purple, you could have been sprinting around purple. Now, I'm not saying you could have won this race, but I'm saying with confidence you could have been standing on that box instead of, were you 12th, I think, something like that?
I think 11th, yeah. I ended up 11th or something. But yeah, I mean, dude, it's crazy that it comes down to like one little thing like that, though. That's what's so fun about this sport, you know? I'm excited because, like, when I remember in that moment, like, I think I just felt a little bit defeated, if I'm being honest. Like, not that, I don't know. I don't want to admit that I kind of gave up a little bit too early, but I was just kind of like, you know, like I was just like, oh, and then at the hill, I'm just going to throw everything at it, like, screw it, whatever, you know, but like, dude, like right there, like you said, you know, like at 400 meters to go, I still had the chance to make
like
something
stand on the
happen
box.
out of it.
And I don't blame you for not seeing this. Like, we're sitting here in desk chairs, like, you know, armchair quarterbacking the final couple hundred meters of this race. And what's hindsight, EJ?
Hindsight's 2046, Steve.
Oh, thank you. That's what I thought. Yes.
Hindsight's 2020.
But it's like you said, it's what is so wonderful and so amazingly terrible about this sport is things can come down to just this snap decision that happens in a moment when your heart rate's 182 beats per minute. But I promise you, this is the difference between 11th and like top 3, and it's that consequential because you would have carried so much more speed and momentum into the bottom of that final corner. We won't beat you up over it, EJ, because I cannot believe how I am so impressed with how you have progressed so far. And the power's there. We're putting together the pieces. Big things coming for the rest of this season, guys. We have some big announcements, too, for summer racing. We're going to hold off on it for right now. But follow the socials. Keep up. And as always, great having you on, EJ.
Dude, this was so much fun. Again, thank you to everyone who supports. Check out the second channel if you haven't already. I make some content over there that's pretty cool. So, yeah, but with that one, we'll see you guys in the next one.
Later.